Hey, good morning, Dave. This is going to be a pretty involved demo video for you for your DS3 from KR Sabers with Goth Master Chassis. So install with a Proffie, and then like I said, it's got the Goth Master Chassis. A very small saber, one that I don't typically do. I don't know that I'll do this Master Chassis ever again. I think in terms of difficulty, I would put this above the Grandmaster that I did for Graflex by Goth, just because of the wire management, the cram foo, and just the limited amount of space. All right. So this is a 2-button setup. You're going to see your red and green switches here. Your red switch is going to be your power. All right. Your green switch is going to be your auxiliary. For right now, I've got your static emitter on here. Now you're going to have to break this down and take your chassis out. I'm going to show you some things I had to do to the inside of the hilt. All right, so first thing we're going to want to do is take off our emitter. So this piece unscrews. We'll put this off to the side. When we put it back on, we're actually going to put this one on. This is the one that accepts a blade, but we'll talk about that here in a second. All right, once you take that emitter off, you're going to have to unscrew this ring. All right, so we'll unscrew this ring. Now we'll take that off. We'll take this gold piece off just so it doesn't fall off on us. That's the top side. All right, so we've got that off. You can see your stock piece there. But now we're going to have to come over here, and we need to take this greebly off right here so we can take the pommel off. I'm going to do this over my table, but it's just a matter of unscrewing that screw. So let me do it over here so I don't drop it. When you take that screw off, right, these two pieces come off together, so it's a greebly and a screw. Be careful though, I'm holding the pommel with my pinky there because once you take that screw out, your pommel comes off. All right, again, let me do this over the table because it's at a bit of a weird angle and I don't want to drop it. All right, so that's your pommel. It only goes on one way. All right, so we'll have to take that off. Now you'll see your chassis right there. It's not just going to slide out though. It's pretty tough in there. I had to do a lot of modifications to the hilt on the inside just to get it to fit. So what I've been doing, I've got a pair of tweezers here, but anything that you can get to push on the gold rim, if you can look in there and see that gold rim. So you want to push on that gold brass piece. You do not want to push on your speaker. Whatever you do, whatever you use, do not push on your speaker or you will damage it. All right, and replacing parts on this guy is going to be somewhat of a nightmare. So you want to make sure that you spend some extra time, whatever it is that you decide to use, that it does not press on the actual speaker. All right, so I just put my pair of tweezers in there. I push along the side until it pops out ever so much. Now without a battery, it's not as bad. All right, so we can, when it gets to about right here, something we can grab on, we can go ahead and pull it out. And I'm going to put this chassis, or the saber, off to the side rather. And this is your Goth Master Chassis. So it came out very beautiful, and I hope that you like the way it looks. Of course, you've got a crystal chamber over here. You've got your 22mm speaker that was provided in the kit. This is the stock V4 right there. Over here is your board. So your Proffie board here, it has a board cover. So this board cover is on with some magnets. You can simply pull it off and expose your Proffie board right here. So if you'll look, you've got typical to Goth's chassis. He sets them all up pretty much the same when it comes to SD card access and USB access. All right, because the board is adhesed down to the shelf. That board is not moving. I spent a significant amount of time yesterday gluing that down and making sure it stayed in place. All right, so you can put that right back on and it will stay there with magnets. Now you've got a 7-pixel accent strip right here, and then when you turn it over here, you've got another 7-pixel accent strip. When you're following Goth's instructions on how to put this together, and you get to this point right here, there's a little adage in there. It's like, for you cram foo masters, if you want to try it, there's an extra place for some pixel strips on the LED or on the chassis. So I'm not a master, but I dabble in cram fu a little bit. So of course we put those in there because I wanted you to have the maximum amount of blinkies possible. All right. You do have a removable battery setup. Now the spring or negative side of your battery is over here by your kill switch, and you've got a kill switch right here. All right. What else do we got? We got two illuminated switches. So these are KR switches. Of course, one right here and one right here. All right. And that's what makes up the chassis. So lots of cram fu in this guy. And as a matter of fact, regular PTFE wire is not something that works with this Saber. And I found that out the hard way. I usually just order my own PTFE wire. I've got some pretty thin stuff that works on 99% of my builds. I've never had an issue. But sometimes I run into a master chassis build such as this one or the Grandmaster chassis where I need some different types of PTFE wire. I haven't been able to find it, but Cal sells it over at the Saber Armory. So I broke down, I bought some yesterday, and I've got some coming. But in the meantime, I only had one color here, which was blue. So I used, on about, I thought it was 9 pads, but I counted them. It was actually 10 different pads or 10 different things on the Saber while I was wiring it up. It was all the same blue wire. So when I initially got it all together and I fired it up, one of the strips wasn't working at all. The other one was acting wonky and the crystal chamber was wild. So what had happened was I got one of those 2 blue wires switched up. That was an interesting troubleshoot, but I got that. Everything's working fine now. This is the battery that came with your kit. It is an 18650 keep power, but I took the sticker off of it because you absolutely cannot have a battery wrap on this guy or that keep power sticker. It makes it too tight. All right, so you will need to charge this guy up because it is brand new, and when these batteries are brand new, they need a charge. So I'm going to put this in the chassis. It snaps in place right there. All right, good to go. We're going to come over here and flip our little kill switch. It's a regular size kill switch, but you've got a little hole for it. It is easy to access with your finger though. Now you've got your crystal chamber going. We've got your side strips going. We've got your 2 switches going. Everything's on a timer. So you can see that kind of timed out there. And then I've got your crystal chamber going a little bit longer for that because I just thought that was cool. All right, so we can, I'm going to turn this off real quick, set it off to the side. Before we put the chassis back into the Saber, what we can do is come over here and put the pommel on. But before we do that, I'm going to try to show you what I had to do in here. It's a little bit difficult to see, but about right here in the chassis, there was a sharp ledge. It goes up and then it goes over. That's why when you look at the back of this pommel, it's not exactly square, or I'm sorry, it's not exactly circular. You can see up top here, there's a flat piece, right? Because that is what goes over that ledge. It is very difficult to see. You can kind of see that ledge right there. Actually, that's a pretty good picture of it. It was too tall, so the chassis wasn't fitting over it. If you look carefully on the speaker side, so this is where the speaker's at. Right on one side of the speaker here, it's flat. I know my camera hates zooming in on gold stuff, but you can see that flat piece right there. That's meant to slide over that ledge, but unfortunately it wasn't quite working out that way. So what I had to do was go in there. First I filed it. That really wasn't doing exactly what I wanted it to do. Kind of see my mouth through that hole. It's kind of weird. But so I put a sanding drum on my Dremel. I went in and I sanded that ledge nice and smooth. Got it to where the chassis fits, but it is extremely tight. So just be aware of that. All right. Take your time with it. Once you get it all set up, it's pretty badass. It's worth the wait, but it takes a little bit of time. All right, so we're going to take the pommel. It only goes in one way, but an easy way to, if you try to do it any other way, it's not going to fit. But you can see that hole right there. You want to line that up with that hole right there for that greebly. All right, so we're going to slap that in there just like that. Hold it in. We're going to come back and put that screw and that greebly combo back into the Saber. So we need to tighten that up. You want to tighten that all the way up. I'll do that real quick. If you only go halfway and you don't tighten it all the way, this piece is going to be loose. You don't want that. So just go ahead and You don't got to crank down super tough on it, but just tighten it. All right, so nice and hand tightened. Everything's good there. Now we can take our chassis, flip it on. Very cool chassis, by the way. It's nice. It's got some nice scroll work on it, which you don't see on metal parts very often. So you've got that scroll work there. You've got some scroll work over there on the sides. Very cool. All right. So you want to put this in speaker first. There's nothing to clock the chassis. So you're going to want to kind of just, as you're sliding it in, squeeze that battery a little bit to get past that ledge and you're good to go. But as you're pushing it in, you're going to want to make sure that your plunger switches or your tactile switches are in line with your two plunger switches. So you got that one there, and of course you got that one there. All right. You want to make sure those are perfectly aligned. When they are, the chassis will go over that ledge. But when you get to a certain point, you're going to feel it's super tight. Take your time. Keep pushing it in until it's flush like that. Now, we could turn it on from here if we wanted to hit auxiliary. Right, and then hit power. But that's kind of lame. We want to see it all put together, right? So we're going to go back in order. We're going to take this piece that we took off before. We're going to put it back on. Be careful how you put that on, though. It does go on a certain way because it's slanted, as you can see. So you want to make sure you get that lined up properly. We're going to take our gold ribbed piece, screw this on. That takes some patience, but put that on there, you're good to go. Now, we're going to take the emitter that accepts the 7/8 inch blade. We're going to screw that on. All right, so we're going to screw that on right here. Now the saber is good to go. All right, so we can come over here and hit our red switch for power. I've got this speaker at 1800. And it sounds really good for what it is. All right. Is it 28 millimeter quality? No, it's a smaller speaker, but I mean, it's inside of a master chassis. It's inside of one of the smaller hilts probably in the Star Wars universe, other than Yoda's. I think Yoda's is a little bit smaller than this, but this is a very slim, sleek design. All right, so everything's working here. So again, power, auxiliary for green. And we'll twist it off and we'll throw a blade in it. All right, so when you put a blade in it, notice that you have 3 blade retention screws, and I'll try to zoom in on them. They're right underneath this lip. So you can see one there, another here, and one more. They're all evenly spaced. So for the sake of this demo, I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use any of them. I'm just going to kind of hold the blade. I just want to show you that this lights up. All right, so again, power. Lights up a blade very well, right? Auxiliary. Now, blaster bolt deflex is just tapping auxiliary. If you want blade lock up, you'll have to hold auxiliary down and hit the saber. You see it right there? As you go horizontal, it moves closer to the middle of the blade, and then as you go vertical, it comes back down. You see the color difference in my hand? So, white here, red here, right? One more thing, I've got your, you can see the animations in your switches when I hit auxiliary. All right, but when we turn it on, I kept your green one on, but I made your red one blink just so that you'd have some added animation there and everything just wasn't straight on. It gives it a more interesting look in my opinion. All right, this has a soundtrack, so to play the soundtrack, just go ahead and do a long press on the power. This is Battle of Heroes. Do another long press to turn it off. Just like that. All right, so we're going to break this back down. Normally I would just say I'm going to do this off camera, but I think it's important on this particular one that you see it done. So again, we're going to come over here. We're going to unscrew our emitter. Be careful with this emitter. It is a 2-piece. All right, so let me show you what I mean. This gold piece unscrews from this piece so that you can put on your other piece that is just like a blade plug. All right, so you can play around with that. It's no biggie. Come over here and unscrew the ribbed piece. All right, take off our gold section. Now we're going to come back over here and take off this greebly again over my table. Once we've got that greebly off, we're going to go ahead and take the pommel off. All right. Now this is the most careful part of doing anything. I can't stress it enough. Whatever you choose to use to push on the chassis, do not push on the speaker. All right. So again, I'm going to do this in the light over my desk just because I need to concentrate. All right, once you get it out about that far, pull it the rest of the way out. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on and show you that the kill switch is doing what it's supposed to do. So this is what I've got your LED strips doing when the Saber's on. They have a different animation. I know it's not something that you'll be able to see inside of the Saber, but it is pretty cool if you want to play with it outside of the Saber. All right, and then we'll just flip it off with the kill switch back here, and it kills power. When you want to take your battery out, do it from the positive side by your Neopixel connectors, and you can pop it out with your finger. I'm going to send this inside the Saber without the battery. I'm going to put this battery in the case that it came with and put it in your box. All right, now I will put the Saber back together off camera because we've gone over it twice. But that is basically your DS3 with Goth Master Chassis. I hope that you like the way that came out. This was a very, very challenging build, but it was satisfying when it was done. So let me know if you have any questions. And it's Friday today, so I'd very much like to try to get this out in the mail to you today. Thanks, Dave.